So, Mike, there is a saying, change is the only constant, and it has been a year of constant change.
Yeah, that's right. A calendar of crisis, if you want to put it that way, Tulisi's, where, we use calendars to plan our lives. But it seems like you could throw the calendar away when the COVID-19 virus arrived in this country, because things just changed in an instant, just like that. So let's take a look at the COVID year and some of those moments that people were talking about. Of course, it was a tragic time in our lives, but also some moments where we felt things were just bizarre. Let's take a look at that as we bring up our timeline. Of course, patient 0 was identified on the 5th of March, exactly 1 year ago. He had travelled from Italy back to South Africa. 10 days later, Tulisi's, where the president declaring a national state of disaster, which of course paved the way for the lockdown, which came into effect level 5 on the 27th of March. All sorts of restrictions in terms of movement, in terms of business activity. We did get some relief a month later on the 1st of May. You'll remember this, where we were finally allowed to go out and jog or walk our dogs. Then on the 1st of June, level 3 came into effect, so we were allowed to buy liquor once again. A lot of people were talking about this one. On the 18th of August, level 2, and people were finally allowed to buy cigarettes. Lots of controversy around that one. Level 1 on the 21st of September, most of the restrictions now were limited in terms of the gathering, so we couldn't have too many people in one place. But then, Tulis, we saw that spike around the Christmas period, and we went back to level 3. And so many people had to limit what they were doing around New Year's Eve. Of course, few people will forget that. We also had a delay in terms of the opening of schools, run about 2 weeks. So we had that happening on the 15th of Feb. But then a ray of light to us. On the 17th of Feb, the president getting his vaccine, the so-called V-Day in this country. And then just earlier this week, finally back to level 1. I've gone through it pretty quickly, Tulisi's, but that's just to show you how constant change marked the past year that we're now reflecting on. It has been a COVID year.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the rules kept changing as well. As you were getting used to one set of rules, it was time for new announcements every now and then. The things that you are allowed to do and the things that you're not allowed to do. I mean, at one point, there was a whole debate about what kind of clothing was considered to be essential at the point at which we were on level 5 of the lockdown, and people were debating whether you can buy undergarments and the likes. Speaking of that, there was a lot of frustration around the lockdown, but ultimately it would seem the consensus was, the goal was always clear: we had to save lives.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a year of family meetings, as the president's address came to be known to us. So let's focus very quickly on the COVID curve, as we've called it. And we'll just take a look at the number of daily cases across the past year, Tulisi's. So the 5th of March, as I mentioned, 1 case. We saw it slowly climb up over the next few days. But then, really quickly, we got to 14,000 cases in a single day. Take a look at the graph there. On the 24th of July, we hit the peak of the first wave. And this is what's so compelling about the COVID-19 virus, these ebbs and flows. On the 15th of December, we were down to less than 1,000 cases in a single day, and we thought we had this thing under control. The truth was absolutely not. We hit nearly 22,000 cases in a single day on the 8th of January. So that was less than 2 months ago, Tulisi's. So this graph really shows you how unpredictable and volatile that this virus has actually become. And just to focus very quickly on the numbers, 365 days since the first case was identified, and we are just below 1,520,000 cases in this country. I did a quick calculation, Tulisi's, where that's essentially an average of about 4,000 cases per day, every day for the past year. In terms of deaths, you're looking at about 140 deaths linked to COVID-19 every day for 365 days. So a calendar of crisis. We have the vaccine. We have the measures in place to try and limit the spread. Let's hope we aren't talking about the same thing this time in 2022.
Yeah, we all hope for that. The grim statistics must come to an end. eNCA's Michael Marilia there, giving you the facts and figures and statistics of the last 12 months of living with COVID-19.